Chapter 12. The Road Wing. The wreck had left ordinary dead all along the shore. But ordinary dead did not pull Iren off his road. They waited in the usual ways. One sailor sat on a black rock with his hands folded over his belly, staring at the sea, because his body had not yet understood it, no longer needed breath. Another wandered the tide line, calling for a brother who would not answer, until he stopped looking in the wrong direction. Farther down the beach, two men stood beside their own drowned bodies, and argued over whose fault the reef had been. That was almost comforting. Mortals carried blame past death, the way children carried stones in pockets, uselessly, loyally, with surprising tenderness. Those souls could wait a little. They would not like waiting. No one did, but the dead had already lost their strongest argument against patience. The other death was different. It had opened a wound in the morning. Iren felt it while crossing a road that did not exist on any map sensible people trusted. One step had been under a dry arch in Valasar, where a widow had just decided not to burn her husband's last letter. The next would have put him on a goat track above the Namaru Sea. Instead, the road buckled beneath his bare foot and filled with salt wind. Old song, blood song, choir, deep. Iren stopped mid-step. "Oh," he said to no one, "that is inconvenient." The road did not answer. Roads had better manners than gods, and worse senses of humor. He turned toward the pull. The world folded badly. He came out above the beach with his cloak dry, and his mood ruined. The storm was leaving in tatters. Clouds dragged themselves eastward, bruised and sullen, spilling the last of their rain over the broken shore. The sea still worked itself against the rocks, hissing around wreckage, worrying at bodies, dragging rope and splintered plank into deeper water as if tidying evidence. The ship had gone down in pieces. Some still floated beyond the reef. Not much. Enough for men above to call it disaster and men below to call it inventory. Iren looked first for the old death. He found her near the tide. Maelin of the choir deep lay on wet sand with one wing, torn nearly free, and the other folded beneath her at an angle no living body could forgive. Pale feathers clung to blood. Scales along her throat had dulled. Her hair spread in copper ropes around her face, threaded with sand and foam. One hand lay open beside her, palm turned upward toward the boy sitting a little way off. No, not boy. Orren Keld. Names mattered here. They always did at beaches. Shores were where the world confused arrival with leaving. Orren sat in the sand, as if something had taken his bones and put them back incorrectly. He had one arm wrapped against his middle, the other hanging uselessly, blood dark at the shoulder where something had cut him before Maelin ever had the chance to die. His hair was stiff with salt. His mouth had split. Both knees were torn. He looked toward the sea with a face that had not yet learned which grief to wear first. Good, Iren thought, and hated himself for it. A man who knew which grief came first might have stopped moving. This one still had chaos in him. Chaos could be led. The thought tasted like old copper. Maelin's soul had not gone where it should. That was the other problem. It clung to the air beside her body, not fully visible even to Iren, but present in pressure, in song, in a warmth that did not belong to the morning. She had wrapped herself around one unfinished note and would not release it. Old creatures died badly when love was late. Their deaths snagged, their names caught in thresholds. Their songs went looking for ears that could no longer hear. Iren stepped down from nothing and landed between the bodies. His feet did not quite touch sand. No reason to ruin a good pair of invisible roads with beach grit. Orren did not look up. "If you have come to finish it," he rasped, "be kind enough to be quick." There were several answers available. Most were cruel. A few were funny. None were useful. Iren chose one that belonged to all three. That is a dedicated amount of dying for someone still alive. Orren lifted his head. His eyes were fever bright and salt reddened. They moved over Iren's face, his dry cloak, the space below his bare feet where sand should have held him and did not. Orren's expression did not become wonder. Good. Iren distrusted wonder in exhausted men. It turned too quickly into worship or screaming. Evara, Orren said. Not who are you, not what are you. The woman's name came first. That boded well and terribly. Take me to her. Iren looked toward the sea. The drowned woman's path had gone under, then crooked, not by the ordinary bank, not through the common dark. Something in her had touched stone before the waters finished with her. That was not Iren's office, not cleanly. The last house had noticed, or would soon. He looked back at Orren. I can show you a road. Orren's whole body shuddered toward the words. Iren lifted one finger. That is not the same as promising you will like where it ends. I don't care. They all say that. I don't care. Yes, I heard you the first time. Repetition rarely improves bad judgment, though mortals remain devoted to the experiment. Orren pushed one hand into the sand and tried to stand. His body failed him, with a sincerity Iren almost admired. He pitched forward. Iren caught the back of his shirt before his face hit the beach and held him there for a breath, suspended awkwardly between collapse and dignity. Orren made a strangled sound. Let me go. I could, Iren said. The sand seems eager. Let me go. Where? Orren's eyes cut toward the water. Ah! Iren tightened his grip and pulled him backward with less grace than either of them deserved. Orren fought him, but fighting required strength, and the boy had spent most of his in water and blood and murder. Evara, Iren reminded himself. Not boy. Orren. Orren clawed at the sand as Iren dragged him above the reach of the next wave. She's there. No, Iren said. Orren twisted hard enough to tear his shirt at the collar. You don't know. I do, actually. It is one of my more irritating qualities. She could be. No. The word landed. Orren went still. For one moment, his face emptied. Iren should have said it differently. Wrapped it. Delayed it. Let the shape enter by side roads. He had never been very good at mercy when it needed to arrive on foot. Orren's lips moved. No. Iren let go of his shirt and crouched in front of him, lowering himself until his feet finally touched sand. It felt obscene somehow. She has gone where the drowned go, Iren said. Orren stared at him. That is not the answer you asked for, Iren added, because exactness mattered and cruelty liked to hide inside incomplete truths. Then answer me. The surf hissed behind them. One of the dead sailors down shore stopped arguing long enough to listen. Iren looked at Orren Keld, son of a woman he had killed and a father not yet named aloud, singer whose road already ran under storms Iren did not like, lover whose grief had all the subtlety of a lit torch in a hayloft. Yes, Iren said. Orren folded around the word. No drama, no wail. His body simply bent, as if the spine had been cut. His forehead lowered toward the sand. His hands opened, closed, opened again. Iren looked away. He had seen men hear death before. He had watched queens take it standing, children deny it with sticky hands, soldiers laugh until their teeth chattered, old women nod as if receiving news of weather they had expected. He had seen grief in enough shapes to fill a road from the high seat to the last house and back again. It had not become easier, only more recognizable. Orren whispered something into the sand. Iren caught the last part. My fault. Oh, that road. Iren sighed. Overcrowded, poorly maintained, leads nowhere pleasant. Orren lifted his head slowly. What? Your fault, Iren said. A popular destination after disaster. Everyone goes there first. Few bring maps. Orren's face sharpened. Anger was useful. She followed me. Yes. I told her to. Yes. I didn't look. Iren's mouth closed. The pause was too long. Orren saw it. His anger shifted inward so violently that Iren could almost hear bone crack under it. I didn't look. I was not there. You know, I know many things incompletely. It is one of the principal torments of being me. You know, Iren hated the plea in it. Accusation would have been cleaner. He sat back on his heels. Sand dampened the edges of his trousers. So much for dignity. Were you the storm? He asked. Orren stared at him. Were you the reef, the current, the voices in the cliffs, the man who built the ship, the hand that cut your arm, the god who taught the sea cruelty, the first fool who decided love should travel by boat? Orren's jaw tightened. Were you any of those? Iren asked. No. Then be precise. Precise? With guilt? Iren said. It is greedy if you let it eat from every plate. Orren looked toward the water. I was enough. Iren had no answer for that. Because yes, perhaps, sometimes, a man did not need to be the storm to become the door it used. Behind them, Maelin's soul trembled. The song in the air changed. Orren turned, as if struck. He saw only the body. Iren knew that. The living rarely saw what lingered, unless grief cracked the right window. But he felt something. The way his shoulders pulled tight, the way his mouth twisted, the way his hand moved toward his cheek and stopped. That thing, Orren said. Iren did not like the word. It was understandable. That did not improve it. Maelin, he said. Orren looked at him. There. Mistake? Names were doors too. What? Iren stood, brushed wet sand from his knees, and failed to improve his appearance. Maelin of the choir, deep. Orren's face closed around the name. You know what she is? Yes. She killed them. She sang. That is not an answer. It is the only one I have that is not a lie. Orren tried to stand again. This time, he made it halfway. His knees shook. One foot slid. Iren caught his elbow, and Orren tore himself free at once. Don't touch me. Gladly. You are mostly salt and poor decisions at present. Orren staggered toward Maelin's body. Iren followed, because following was different from guiding, and he took comfort in technicalities when his conscience grew loud. Orren stopped 3 paces away. His breathing changed. Maelin's torn wing lay half in the foam. The tide moved the outer feathers gently, almost tenderly, then withdrew. Her face had turned toward the sea, or toward Orren. Hard to tell from where the body rested. Orren stared at the hand, the one that had touched his cheek. She called me that, he said. Iren said nothing. Orren looked back. Why? The soul beside the body pressed toward them. Not visibly. Not to Orren. To Iren, the air folded with desperate pressure. He felt a word under it. Not spoken. Not sung. Wanted. Son. No. Too soon. Too late. Those were the worst truths. The ones that arrived at the wrong time, no matter when a god chose to let them through. She was dying, Iren said. Orren laughed once, a ruined sound. Dying people lie? Constantly. Also tell truths, very inconsiderate of them. Was it a lie? Iren looked at Maelin's body. Her soul reached again, less toward him than through him. She could not touch Orren cleanly now, not without help, not without cost. My boy, the dead song said. Not storm, not theirs. Please. Iren closed his eyes. He had spent ages learning how to let mortals walk their own roads. Stand at crossroads, yes? Name a path, perhaps. Nudge when a road had been hidden by fraud or fear. But not carry, not choose, not seize a living man by the shoulders and turn him away from the cliff, because Iren knew what waited below. Except he did those things all the time. He merely dressed them differently. I do not think she meant to trick you with that, Iren said. Orren's face went white around the mouth. What does that mean? It means exactly what it says, which is rare enough that you should appreciate it. Orren came at him. Not well. He was too injured for well, but sudden. Full of a grief that had found an available throat, he seized Iren's cloak in both fists and drove him back one step. Iren allowed the step. The living sometimes needed proof that gods could be moved. What does that mean? Orren demanded. It means she cared whether you lived. She wrecked the ship. I do not know that. You heard the song. You said. I said she sang. Singing is not always the same as intending every death that follows. Orren's fingers tightened in the cloak. If I sang a room toward a cliff and men died, would you make that distinction for me? Iren looked at him. Ah, there he was. Not only the grieving lover, not only the boy who killed a mother he did not know. Something sharper. Something that could turn a question into a blade and hold it against a god's throat. That road ran far. Farther than Iren wanted to see. No, Iren said. Orren's grip faltered. I would not, Iren said. Not quickly. Orren released him and stepped back. For a breath, he seemed to have forgotten how to stand again. Then his eyes went to the sea. I need to go below. Yes, Iren said. That word remade him. Hope struck Orren so violently that Iren nearly regretted giving it shape. You can take me. I can show you a road. You said, and I will keep saying it until the difference has a chance to enter your skull. Then show me. You are bleeding. I know. You have swallowed enough seawater to turn your insides into a harbor. I know. You tore the wing from an elder of the choir deep, and then asked for directions from her corpse. Orren flinched. Good. Cruel, but good. You cannot walk into the last house on romance and broken knees, Iren said. Watch me. I have been. It is exhausting. Orren took a step toward him, almost fell. Iren caught him again because there were limits to pedagogy. This time Orren did not pull away. That, more than the collapse, told Iren how close the body was to quitting. We need to move before more attention finds this beach, Iren said. Whose attention? Iren looked up. The sky had cleared enough to show a pale tear of morning. No storm now, not truly. But the air held a pressure that did not belong to weather. A high, distant listening. The kind that came before thunder learned a name. Not yet. He thought toward the sky. No answer. He had not expected one. Many people dislike irregular doors, Iren said. You are about to become one. Orren frowned, as if trying to decide whether that was insult, warning, or fever. Yes, Iren said. That is a proper expression for the sentence. What are you? Rude, usually. Orren's eyes did not leave him. Useful. On generous days. Orren, he said tightly. No, that is you. The glare he received was almost worth the situation. Iren sighed. Iren. The name changed the air by a small degree. Orren knew it, even if he did not know why he knew it. Songs travelled faster than proper theology, and Skeldrun had enough sailors to have gathered fragments from every coast. The road wing, the quick god, the barefoot guide, the liar at thresholds, the one who could enter through a keyhole if the door bored him, the one mothers cursed when sons took roads and did not come back. Orren stared. You're a god. Some days. That is not. It is the answer you will get while your lips are blue. Why are you helping me? An excellent question. And I dislike excellent questions. They expect excellent answers and then judge everyone for failing. Orren swayed. Iren took his arm more firmly. I am helping because a road exists, and you will attempt to find it without me if I do not. That is not the whole reason. No. What is? Maelin's soul pressed close again. Iren looked at her body. Orren followed his gaze. then looked away quickly. "Late," Iren said. Orren's eyes returned to him. "What?" "I arrived late." "For what?" Iren did not answer. The dead woman's song shivered. It understood, or forgave, or lacked strength for either. Orren's voice went rough. "For her?" "For several things." "That's convenient." "No," Iren said. "Convenience is when guilt has only one name." The boy laughed under his breath. No amusement in it, but the laugh kept him upright another moment, which made it useful. Iren slid Orren's arm over his shoulders. Orren tried to resist out of pride. His knees made a better argument. "Where?" Orren asked. "Up." He looked toward the cliff. "I can't climb that." "Correct." Orren stared. Iren smiled. Finally, something simple. He took one step. The beach changed. Not for everyone. The dead sailors still saw sand, wreckage, mourning. One paused mid-complaint as Iren opened the road, but only because the dead were sensitive to drafts. Orren, however, saw the line appear because Iren wanted him to. A narrow path unfolded along the cliff face, where no path had been a breath before. Not carved, remembered. A goat might have used it once in a different age, or a child in a story, or a god with more arrogance than sense. Wet stone shifted into shallow steps. Grass leaned out from cracks. Roots reached like hands and held. Orren's mouth parted. That was not there. Most roads aren't, until someone needs them badly enough and asks the right liar. You made it. Revealed. Made sounds like work. The first step lifted to meet Iren's foot. Orren hesitated. At last. Good. A little fear before a road was healthy. The ones who walked too gladly usually became songs, warnings, or stains. Iren looked back once. Maelin's body lay with the tide creeping nearer. Her soul did not follow yet, but it had turned toward Orren. The torn note between them held. He should say something. To her, to him, to someone. Instead he lifted 2 fingers. Not farewell, not blessing, a witness mark. Maelin's song answered faintly. Orren shivered. What was that? Wind. That was not wind. I have heard better wind, yes. Orren looked at him, as if hate might keep him warm. Excellent. Hate had more stamina than hope. They climbed. Or rather, Iren climbed, and the road tolerated Orren. The first 10 steps were the worst. Orren's body remembered every injury separately and complained in a choir less musical than Maelin's. His wounded arm shook against Iren's shoulders. Blood had begun moving again beneath the salt-crusted cloth. Once he slipped and went down hard on one knee, making a sound through his teeth that turned the nearest root pale. "Stop," Iren said. "No, you say that often." "Then listen once." "I am listening." "You are making a compelling argument for dying halfway up a cliff." Orren pushed himself upright. Will she wait? The question should not have hurt. It was too simple. Iren looked up the road. "She is dead," he said carefully. Waiting changes meaning. Orren looked as if he might strike him again. Good. Anger. Breathe. Move. "Then we go," Orren said. They went. The path rose along the cliff, leaving the beach below in uneven glimpses. The wreckage looked smaller from above. Bodies too. Grief hated distance. It made objects manageable without permission. Orren kept looking back. At the beach, at Maelin, at the sea. Not the way he would later be forbidden to look back. That road had not been written yet. But Iren noticed anyway, because roads loved repetition and tragedies enjoyed rehearsal. "Eyes ahead," Iren said. Orren's jaw clenched. "Do not command me. Advice, then, with bones under it." "I need to remember." "You will? You don't know that. I know the difference between memory and looking until your feet fail." Orren looked ahead for 12 steps, then back again. Iren said nothing this time. At the top of the cliff, The world opened into wet grass and low scrub bent by storm. The sea spread behind them, grey now instead of black, its violence wearing out by degrees. Inland, the ground rose toward stony hills, all slick with rain. A few thin trees clung to the slope, leaves turned silver underneath by wind. The air smelled of salt, crushed grass, and a small animal recently dead in the brush. Orren sank to one knee. This time, Iren let him. The boy needed one collapse that did not become a lesson. Orren bent over his injured arm and breathed in shallow pulls. His whole body shook. Wet hair hid his face. Iren stood beside him and looked toward the inland roads. There were several, most bad, one terrible. The terrible one was, of course, the correct road. It ran faintly through the grass, not visible as a path so much as a disagreement with the surrounding world. Rain did not sit on it. Shadows leaned away. A row of stones, half buried in earth, marked it for 3 paces, then disappeared, then returned farther on in a different arrangement. Old road. Volos would dislike it. Volos disliked many things. Breathing, surprise, trespass, hope with muddy boots. Iren rubbed one thumb along the edge of his palm. Maelin's death still pulsed below the cliff. The drowned souls were beginning to gather where the shore thinned toward evening. He would need to see them taken properly. Or someone would. The world had systems for this. Ugly ones. Old ones. But systems. Evara Soln had not entered by the common bank. That troubled him. It also interested him. He disliked when those emotions shared a chair. Orren lifted his head. How far? Far. How far? Farther if you ask every few steps. Orren got one foot under him, then the other. He nearly fell. Iren caught him. Again. This was becoming habit. Bad roadwork habit. Do not mistake this for fondness, Iren said. Orren's mouth twitched. Not a smile. Something the body remembered doing, before it forgot why. I wouldn't. Excellent. I am very difficult to adore properly. They started inland. The first stretch of the old road did not look like much. Mud, grass, stones. The sort of path a shepherd might curse after rain. Orren seemed almost insulted by it. This leads to death. Most roads do, given enough time. I know what you meant. I was avoiding the solemn version. Orren's breath hitched. Don't. What? Make it small. Iren looked at him. Orren walked with his wounded arm held close. One boot missing, clothes torn and stiff with salt, face half drained of life, and still, somehow, demanding proper respect for the thing that might kill him. Iren nodded once. Fair. They walked in silence for a little while. It lasted nearly 7 breaths. Then Orren said, The last house. Iren sighed. So you know the name. Everyone knows the name. Everyone knows a name. Few know what names mean. Volos rules it. Try not to say that too loudly, once we are nearer. Orren looked at him. Will he hear? The last house is his. You do not shout a man's name inside his mouth, unless you enjoy dentistry. Orren absorbed that. Then, can he return her? Perhaps. The word nearly broke him again. Perhaps. Better than no. Less intoxicating than yes. Can I make him? Iren stopped. Orren took 2 more steps before realizing. He turned back, swaying slightly. What? Do not ask that question carelessly. I am not careless. You are almost nothing but care at the moment, Iren said. That is the problem. Care can become careless when frightened. Orren's eyes hardened. If he has her. He has many. She is not many. To you. Orren flinched, as if slapped. Iren regretted it before the sentence finished. Then did not regret it enough to withdraw. You must understand this before you reach the door, Iren said. The dead do not become important because the living arrive loudly. Every soul below had a mother, lover, child, enemy, debt, unfinished shoe, unspoken apology, burned dinner, favorite cup, every one. Your Evara will not be the first beloved to enter the last house. Orren stared down the road. But she is yours, Iren said, softer. And that is why you are walking. Orren's throat moved. Yes, there. Keep that truth. It is smaller than the one you wanted. Smaller truths fit through narrower doors. Orren looked back at him. That sounded like a proverb. I am ashamed. It was a bad one. I am comforted. They walked again. Rain thinned to mist. Mist thickened near the road. Not from weather now, but from the path itself beginning to remember. It was old. The grass on either side dulled. Birdsong faded. The sky stayed pale, but the light no longer seemed to come from one direction. Orren noticed. His steps slowed. Do not stop, Iren said. I hear something. Good or bad? I don't know. Then keep walking until it becomes one. The sound reached Iren too. Not Maelin, not the choir, not Evara. A road sound. Wheels that had not turned for centuries. Bare feet. Hooves. A child crying because it had been told the journey would be short. A soldier laughing with an arrow in him because he had not yet accepted that the laugh was his last. Pilgrims. Thieves. Queens in disguise. Bodies carried. Names carried. Promises carried and dropped. The old road had begun to speak. Orren's face tightened. Are they dead? Some. And the others? Gone. What's the difference? Sometimes none. Sometimes everything. Keep walking. Orren did. Barely. He asked no more questions for nearly a mile. That worried Iren more than the questions had. By the time the sun sank behind low clouds, Orren's fever had risen. His lips had gone pale except where blood had cracked them. The cut on his arm needed cleaning. The wound in his spirit needed something no one could give. He stumbled every few steps and covered it worse each time. Pride, Iren thought, was nature's way of making people die standing where sitting would have saved them. Enough, he said. Orren shook his head. No. Yes. She is. Still dead if you sleep. Orren turned on him with such naked fury that the road beneath their feet went briefly black. Interesting and concerning. Iren lifted both hands. That was meant practically. I don't care how it was meant. You should. Meaning is the only reason language has not been outlawed. Orren swayed. Then, with no warning, his eyes rolled back and he collapsed. Iren caught him before his head struck stone. Again. Habit, he muttered, lowering Orren to the ground. Disgusting. He opened a small fire from a road that had once passed through a summer kitchen and borrowed the memory of heat from it. Not a large fire, not an impressive one. A little orange thing cupped between 3 stones, smelling faintly of onion and old bread. It was not interference, he told himself. It was weather management. A god had to have standards, even if he ignored them. Orren woke while Iren was tearing a strip from the hem of his own shirt to bind the arm properly. His eyes opened slowly. You said you couldn't help. Iren did not look up. No. I said I could not help in ways that matter. Orren's gaze moved to the fire. Do not become sentimental, Iren said. It is a very small fire. You tore your shirt. It was an ugly shirt. It wasn't. Then the sacrifice is greater. Be impressed quietly. Orren let his head fall back against the stone. For a moment, he looked too tired to be angry. I killed her, he said. Iren's hands paused over the bandage. Orren stared at the dim sky. Maelin. The name sounded strange in his mouth. Unwanted. Heavy. Yes, Iren said. She touched my face. Yes. Why? There it was again, the road splitting underfoot. Iren wrapped the cloth around Orren's arm once. Twice. The blood darkened it, almost immediately. She was late, Iren said. Orren's eyes shifted to him. Late for what? Iren tied the knot. Too tight, perhaps. Sleep. Iren. That was unfair. Names in a wounded man's mouth should not be allowed to hold that much claim. Iren stood and moved to the other side of the fire. Sleep, he said again. Orren stared at him for a long time. Then his body took the mercy his will refused. His eyes closed. The fire cracked softly. Mist gathered on the old road, silver in the dimming light. Somewhere, far below and far behind, the sea continued to erase footprints from the beach. Maelin's song did not come again, but Iren felt it at the edge of the camp, a presence too wounded to enter and too loving to leave. He looked into the dark, beyond the fire. I know, he said softly. No one answered. Or perhaps the road did. A feather, pale and veined with dark red, drifted out of the mist and settled near Orren's sleeping hand. Iren stared at it. Then he crouched, picked it up, and set it in the fire. The feather did not burn. Of course not. Difficult women. Iren murmured. Orren shifted in sleep. His fingers moved toward the warmth, toward the feather, toward whatever song had followed him from the shore. Iren watched him reach and not wake. Then he looked down the road that would take them toward the last house. It had grown darker while he was not looking. That was never a good sign.
Rain on the sill, salt in the flame. When the door goes quiet and the room lets go, lay the last word gently where the dark runs slow.
There is still a road under ash, under rain. There is still a voice trying not to break. Carry the song through the dark and the foam. Carry the name when the cold calls home. Leave one small light where the lost can remain. I will find you by listening. You will know me by name.
Rain on the sill,
Salt in the flame. The door goes quiet. Carry